North Carolina Republican Madison Cawthorn had a tumultuous 2022. The firebrand conservative faced a number of controversies that culminated him losing in a Republican primary, despite receiving an endorsement from former President Trump. Cawthorn had a number of fiery speeches on the House floor in 2022 on President Biden, quote, woke generals, and decrying attacks on gun rights. Despite losing the primary in 2022, Cawthorn vowed to stay involved in the MAGA movement, specifically calling for a rise of, quote, dark MAGA.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this institution can be synthesized into one word: represent. But can we, as a hallowed and time-honored body, truly sit here in this sacred chamber and say with straight faces that we are fulfilling this calling? Our woes as a nation beset us upon every side, and this body has, through inaction or, frankly, malicious action, made many crises worse. At the beginning of this Congress, our border was in shambles. Can we honestly say the institution has improved even slightly? This situation? At the start of 2021, our economy was teetering. Today, among the smog and dust of collapse, have yet to settle. Today, we are weaker domestically and frighteningly vulnerable internationally. China rises, Russia marches, the Middle East implodes, and this body sits on its hands and names post offices. Hear this: America cannot be saved through legislation. Men and women of virtue and value must rise to alter the very culture of our nation. Christ, not Congress, will be what saves this country. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
5 minutes to my good friend Madison Cawthorn, the pride of the Carolinas. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, my friend. I believe that you should one day be governor of the great state of Tennessee, my friend, in your Carhartt jacket. It'd be great. Madam Speaker, our founders were clear. The Second Amendment was designed as the backbone upon which individual rights and liberties could be secured. Efforts by the ruling class in our government are aimed at crippling this nation and corroding our republic. It's true. Red flag laws sound benign on paper. Flagging dangerous individuals and keeping them from weaponry seems like a cut and dry issue. But a cursory glance at the actions of our overreaching federal government clearly show that these laws are ripe for federal abuse of your rights and mine. Make no mistake, red flag laws will be used to flag those who vote for freedom, strip them of their right to self-defense, and empower faceless bureaucrats to dole out or to not dole out the right of self-defense to a downtrodden and oppressed class of citizens. They will be weaponized to demonize and destroy political dissidents in this country. If you vote against the regime, you may be stripped of your rights. If you refuse the medical decisions pushed by POTUS and the regime, you may be stripped of your rights. And if you raise your children to adhere to proverbs and push-ups instead of POTUS, you may be stripped of your rights. To the American people, I say this: it is not a right if you have to ask permission to exercise it. We are very near this government becoming the exact reason our founders designed the Constitution to hold back a tyrannical government. The Second Amendment was not designed to hunt deer, but to defend against liberty and invasion. Again, red flag laws sound benign. We all want to keep weapons out of the hands of dangerous people. But remember that this government, the CDC, has labeled you a national security problem for protecting your health. The FBI last September has called your mothers and wives domestic terrorists for protecting your children. Now, just days ago, a committee here on Capitol Hill has labeled half the country as coup sympathetic. The same faceless fact-checkers who censor your speech will seize your sovereignty. And trust me, they won't come to your front door with a clipboard and a smile. These liberal lackeys will show up before dawn and invade your home, seize your property, and smash any concept of individual liberty you may possess. Remember the actions a ruling elite took against those at Waco and Ruby Ridge. We must wake up. We cannot trust this government. We must not give them more legal avenues to turn their national security apparatus against those who they swore to defend. Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Cawthorn, for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, the left has ripped away the pen of truth from the author of life. They've exchanged natural science for a party platform and declared war on biology. Your left-wing movement is forcing children to endure radical expressions of sexuality. And yet, you can't even define what a woman is. You might amend a bill, but you'll never amend biology. Science is not Burger King. You can't just have it your way. I am the youngest member of the House of Representatives, and I never imagined that one of my sacred duties in this hallowed chamber would be explaining to the House Speaker the difference between a man and a woman. Take notes, Madam Speaker. I'm about to define what a woman is for you. XX chromosomes, no tallywhacker. It's so simple. And yet today, this proclamation of fundamental scientific fact will cause the woke liberals in Silicon Valley to strip you of your voice and ban you until you bow at their altar of falsehoods. Patriots like Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson have been muzzled on Twitter for promoting the dangerous and bigoted ideology called science. Madam Speaker, you and your party are living a lie. The Babylon Bee is a more reliable source of fact than you. Perhaps it will click when you hand the gavel to Republicans and realize that truth is king. It reigns with the American Speaker, and you, Madam Speaker, never will again. With that, I yield back.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Cawthorn, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. When America projects weakness on the international stage, everyday Americans suffer. We know this. We're told this daily. But many everyday Americans feel that geopolitics is far removed from their lives. So let's answer the question. What does it cost for America to be weak on the world stage? This cost is manifest at the pumps every day with 42% higher prices. It's shown as food prices soar. Meat, poultry, and eggs are all up over 10%. Our weakness abroad produces hardships at home. If we lose our role as the world reserve currency, your buying power, your savings, and your property value could all sink to historic lows. The preeminence of American currency has dominated the global landscape for decades, providing stability as the international bedrock of financial transactions and arrangements. We are the world's reserve currency. We are the standard. But that great financial heritage is slipping away. Our children may soon call the world reserve currency by another name. Perhaps they will know it as the yuan. The geopolitical ramifications of devalued and discarded American currency would not only signal a shift in financial confidence in the United States, it would dissolve our standing among global superpowers. We are witnessing the death rattle of Pax Americana, meaning the era of American peace we've enjoyed in the world for decades. America could lose a war with China without a single shot ever being fired if our dollar continues to be perpetually devalued. Permanent Washington's decision makers, most of whom are over 30 to 50 years my senior, have clearly either not taken the time to sit and consider the cost of, or worse, simply ignored how hyperinflation is rotting the superiority of our nation's currency and dragging with it young families, blue-collar workers, and the great American middle class. American strength and leadership has been the driving force of peace for the last half-century. Nations unified behind the stability of the U.S. dollar, in large part because we backed our greenbacks with gold, substance, not fluff. We were the manufacturers of the world. The shift from a gold standard to a fiat currency began to starve America's financial preeminence. You cannot inflate gold, but you can print money out of thin air. When a currency is built on nothing but paper, it literally grows on trees. With this dramatic shift, America's leverage on the world stage began to slip away. There can be no globalism when America refuses to relinquish its position as the preeminent currency. Countries also think twice before incurring the wrath of the United States when their own financial stability is tied to the endurance of our monetary system. But instead, our inflated, hollow monetary systems have given way to fantastical foreign policy. We have surrendered our financial security as the superpowers of the world wait eagerly in the wings. Our collapse signals their emergence. Saudi Arabia, which has exclusively sold its oil using US dollars, is now considering selling oil for the Chinese yuan. The Chinese Communist Party has been posturing for years to topple the dollar with their tender. When the US dollar falls, America will no longer remain the dominant on the world stage, and peace will end. It's already happening. Vladimir Putin has illegally and immorally invaded Ukraine. The world is coming unraveled as our tender's resilience plummets. But I'm sure you're asking yourselves at home, does this have to happen? In short, the answer is no. We can reclaim the mantle of financial excellence we once held. We can become the leader of the world again without having to expend the lives of young Americans. Stooping to military interventionism is the goal of the war hawks here in Congress, who are bought and paid for by those who stand to profit from forever wars. If we are wise and shrewd, we can avoid ever needing to put boots on the ground to ensure peace. We can do this by dominating the world's economy. To bring peace without bloodshed is actually quite simple. The key is to immediately reduce gas prices and energy prices by drilling the hell out of the Permian Basin, and by granting every lease and incentivizing all necessary infrastructure atop the Bakken Shale. Furthermore, we should aggressively onshore manufacturing back to America, dominate the world market on precious minerals, and stop shipping our jobs overseas. A strong American economy creates a strong U.S. currency. When America sits atop the world, peace will continue. Tyrants of the world like Putin and Xi Jinping will fear us when the only way to buy and sell energy is by using the U.S. dollar. It is our solemn responsibility to pass a peaceful and prosperous nation on to the next generation. We are the leaders of the world. It's time we start acting like it. Drill, baby, drill. America first now, and America first forever. With that, Madam Speaker, I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Minnesota.
Period. And the White House is doing nothing about it. They seemingly are unconcerned about this, and so we have to draw attention to it. Thank you so much for your voice. Madam Speaker, really happy now to yield to the gentleman from North Carolina, the youngest member of Congress, maybe ever. Is it ever?
It's close. It's close.
My good friend, Mr. Cawthorn.
Well, I thank Mike Johnson, the great conservative champion we have here. Madam Speaker, the sons and daughters of America are not foot soldiers for your party's inept geriatric despot. They are not expendable pawns to be dispatched at the whims of an idiot, tossed carelessly around the world to godforsaken caves and bloody sandboxes. They are Americans, worthy of honor and dignity. The only salute from them Joe Biden deserves involves one finger. American blood is not the currency of the world. It cannot be borrowed, exchanged, or lent to any man or any nation. Its worth is immeasurable. American patriots in uniform all signed a blank check to their nation. And already under this administration in Afghanistan, Joe Biden cashed it for 13 patriots through his reckless incompetence. The path to American national security does not lie in American international interventionism. It lies in securing our southern border, not the Russia-Ukraine border. Our greatness is forged in our resistance to interference. The war lobby has no ally in the America First Republicans. We will preserve our strength through nationalism. We will champion America first today and America first forever. We earned our greatness. Let others earn theirs. And if Joe Biden hasn't prostituted our preeminence to the military-industrial complex by the time Donald Trump returns, we will preserve this great city on a hill for the descendants of our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cawthorn. Appreciate your